on this computer. All right, we are recording. Thank you, Bob. Right. Alrighty. Let's give everybody a couple more minutes. Matt Campbell, Chris Rogers, the actor. I love that cigar at what is it? The Neon Museum.
Neon Boneyard. Yes.
Yeah. Dude, I was just there the other day. The episode of our podcast we're recording with the people who own it. So they were like, come down, come take a look, and wonderful place, man. No many. Hello. I want to see more people. I wish Zoom showed a lot more. But if I go on a wider screen, not really. Cool. Well, 6:01. You guys want to get started?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Good. Go for it.
Go for it. I love it. All right. So, couple of things. Whoop whoop. Matt Campbell from myweddingsongs.com. He's got a podcast called My Wedding Songs. Go check it out. Pretty funny stuff. So, let me see if I can share my screen here. And I want to share desktop 3. I'm going to hit share. Can you guys see what I'm sharing now?
Yes.
Cool.
WordPress Meetup.
Yeah, so let's come to, I actually want to go to Meetup. Cool, so make sure everybody is in the right spot here. This is the WordPress Meetup group, and I've been coming to the Meetup group since October 2011. I started buying John Hawkins, the organizer. I started buying him beers, and he started letting me talk. And now here I am organizing, doing some fun things. You too can be just like me. Ka-chow. I have kids. I watch a lot of Cars, a lot of Disney now. So that's where that came from. So you probably found this on meetup.com. I'm pointing to my screen. I have this 2, 3, 4 screens over here. So if you see me pointing, I'm just pointing to the screen over here. Meetup.com, you can see who's attending, what's going on, and you can see that we have everything booked for the meetup. I think everything is online for this foreseeable future, which is pretty cool. I want to remind you that we have a Facebook group. It is Vegas WordPress Meetup. So you can go to facebook.com/groups/WP Vegas, and you can go join over there. I'm constantly on Facebook posting things, and you can ask questions, or you can see, Matt Campbell shared news last week. There was a lot of drama. We're going to go over that, so I'm very excited. We're going to do some news, but so Facebook is great. We have a website, WPVegas.com, all built on WordPress, powered by WP Engine now, I think John has it on. So the meetup notes will be posted in the next couple of days. So everything that we say here tonight will be posted on WPVegas.com. And last but not least, I have a website, Russell, ENVY, Russell NV, and this is all powered by Gutenberg. I use a theme called Nev. This is all powered by Gutenberg. No page builders, no editors, nothing like that. Just straight WordPress. I'm diving head first, whole on into this. Ironically, because tonight we're talking about headless WordPress, but I dove into Gutenberg head first. I really like Gutenberg as a whole. So let's talk about expectations for tonight. We have 2 speakers, myself and Manny. We're both going to be talking about what we call the future of WordPress. This is called headless WordPress and using an API, which is a query language. It's called GraphQL. We're going to show you some really cool stuff. And what I really want to do is show you what's possible with WordPress. in terms of speed and content distribution. Does anybody have any questions about the stuff that we've covered so far? Our website, our Facebook group. Oh, last but not least, we have a Slack channel. So from our website, if you come over here, you can click on Slack. It will take you over. You can sign up and join our Slack chat. So inside of here, I was talking with Frankie the other day. We had a great conversation about, what I do with WordPress, what he wants to do with WordPress. If you want to join us, we're over here. There's a lot of cool people both on Facebook and on Slack. But if anybody have any questions so far, if not, we're going to go right into news from around the world. All righty, let's move on. So I've got a couple of things here. Meetup group here. John Hawkins has shown me Notion, and if you're not familiar with Notion, this is an awesome note-taking platform. So I have my cool little notes, and it shows me, it's basically just like building a paragraph. So when you come in here, you can show, your settings, what you want to do. This is a really cool thing that I've been using. Thank you, John Hawkins. Cool. So we have this. This is disable auto email. So there was the thing going around with WordPress 5.5. It has now come out. If your site hasn't updated to WordPress 5.5, consider yourself lucky. You probably dodged a bullet. WordPress 5.5 has been breaking websites for a lot of reasons, but a lot of people are more pissed off about the automatic emails that this thing is sending. So when you have a theme upgrade, or when you have a plugin update, or when you have something that happens, WordPress sends you a notification now, and it's annoying. So there is actually a way to control the plugin and theme auto update email. So this is a little piece of code that you can copy and paste. And there's a great list over here. So if not, there's this cool little plugin this person built right here, and it's called Disable Theme and Plugin Auto Update Emails. That was a long one. But so this is a plugin called Disable Theme and Plugin Auto-Update Emails. You can install this right now. It's a set it and forget it. You just install it, hit activate. It doesn't slow down your site. It doesn't do anything other than run this function. And anytime that WordPress tries to send itself, it just says, hey, nah, we're good. Don't do it. So WordPress, you can stop emails sending from each other. So this is really cool. Let's go back to Notion. So that's the plugin. I want to show you a really cool tool that I've been using lately. It's called Health Check and Troubleshooting. So everything's opening on my other screen over here, which is awesome. So this is a plugin, Health Check and Troubleshooting. It's from the WordPress.org community. And what happens is when you install this plugin, it's going to give you a health check. So it's going to check your theme. It's going to check your plugins. It's going to check known ways that people can try to hack. It does a lot of cool a lot of cool things. I want to talk about this on the other half, but the coolest part about this health check and troubleshooting plugin is that you can troubleshoot live without ever having to move your site. So what happens is you click troubleshooting and your site basically goes into like a pause. It goes into like another dimension, if you will. And you can turn on themes, deactivate plugins, and what you can really do is if you're having an issue with this cool little plugin, you click troubleshoot and you can change the theme real quick. And if whatever it is broke, if it's fixed when you change the theme, now you know there's a theme option. If you think it's a plugin option, when you enable troubleshooting, it deactivates all your plugins. And then one by one, you just click activate. And then when your thing comes back, you're like, oh, I clicked activate on Yoast SEO, and that's when the thing broke. So this, is probably my issue. This is a easy way to troubleshoot inside of the WordPress dashboard. Before, what you had to do was connect to your website through SFTP, and you would have to rename your folders, or you'd have to rename your plugins, or, now you can do everything without having to connect to SFTP, health check, and troubleshooting. Go read the description, see the screenshots, really learn how this thing works. It's amazing, and it's gonna help for when we start getting into headless stuff. Cool. Last but not least, what I want to talk to you about is, I don't know if you saw Search Engine Journal. Is it Search Engine Journal Astra? There is a theme. It is called Astra, A-S-T-R-A. They are a free theme, and this is one of the best themes that you can use right now with Gutenberg and a lot of page builders. This comes highly recommended. Astra, this theme is the first non-WordPress.org theme, non-Envato theme forest theme. This is only free on the WordPress repository, and it has hit 1 million users. This has been used by 1 million people. And I think there's more than that, because if you install this on a multi-site, all those sites are using more. So it could be more than 1 million sites, but we have hit 1 million users. So this is a feat that MySpace and Facebook, this was a milestone for them. When they hit 1 million users, this was big. So in the WordPress community, this has never happened before. This is huge. And on the same day, they got hit with a now 6-week suspension. They were adding affiliate links into the back end of WordPress, and they were hooking into different plugins. And if those plugins had affiliate links in the back end of WordPress, they were changing those to their affiliate ID. So let me give you like a real world scenario. Is there's a piece of code in here for Give WP, which is a donation plugin. Their little hook says, go ahead and add your affiliate ID. So I'm affiliated with them. My affiliate ID is 6687 or something like that. So I would just put that little number into this hook. And then whenever my plugin was active and Give WP's plugin is active on the same site, my affiliate code goes into their plugin, and anywhere on their plugin pages that says, hey, upgrade now, it would be my affiliate link. So they were doing this in the back end of WordPress. Anytime you installed Astra and you had Give WP installed, they were floating their affiliate link into Give, or they were floating it into another thing. And so why they were suspended is that WordPress.org, they have a rule that says no affiliate links on the repo in your theme. Flat out, we just don't allow it, period. And because they did it, this is what happens. There's also another piece of code in here, and this is the thing that scared me the most, is if you had Monster Insights, this is a plugin to help you do analytics and Google stuff. If you had Monster Insights installed and you updated to a specific version of Astra, it automatically went into the database and added their affiliate ID into your database. So now they're not just hooking into wherever a link is somewhere. They, without your permission, said, I'm going to go ahead and change something in your database. And now anywhere where this Monster Insights shows a link, I'm going to put my affiliate link there too. So, there's a lot of controversy that went around this. Whether it's right or wrong, they were suspended. They were removed from the popular page. So when you go search WordPress.com or WordPress.org/themes, there's the popular page, and it shows you like the most popular themes that are ever being used. Astra used to be right up there. For 6 weeks, they will no longer be there. They were fully removed off of the repo. Like they hid them for a couple of days. They felt like the message was clear, and they reinstated them. So now you're caught up on Astra and you know what's going on. This is pretty big news, and this is something to watch moving forward. I respect both sides here. I think Give is a donation plugin. They want to help people get more money. So I don't have a problem with them allowing this hook, but I do have a problem with anything automatically doing something without my permission, especially when it's on my website. Moving on with that, Astra, plugins, health check, and disable, enable, what was that? Hold on. This should be our new rhyme thing. All right, disable auto email updates for themes and plugins. So those are the three things right now that you can install, go look at, go read. We'll have links up to the website in a little bit. Does anybody have any questions so far about what we covered or comments about Astra? We can take a couple of minutes right now, and if you guys want to have a conversation about that. If not, I'm going to jump into our headless WordPress talk.
Is that troubleshooting theme plugin that you said, is that replacing the one that's native in the WordPress admin?
It adds its own to it. So by itself, WordPress has that, and then this either hooks into it or it adds its own little separate page. But I think it hooks into the health check because it's from the WordPress.org. So, and it goes into tools, and then there's the menu and tools. So I want to say it's part of it, Chris. I want to say like this plugin adds the extra functionality to do more. I actually have it installed. So let's go to my website here, and we'll go to the back end. So when you go to tools, you'll go to site health. So we're looking in the bottom left-hand corner. When you come to site health here, this is really awesome. This is great. I've been playing with this all day. So you'll see that I'm using Unsplash, and I don't have this, and I'm not paying for Nev Pro. Now you know some secrets about me. So this is already telling me just by a quick status that I should remove inactive plugins and remove inactive themes, which is pretty good, solid advice. I'm good. Don't worry about it. We'll go to info. So info is really cool. This will actually show you, let's remove some of these. This page can show you every detail about the configuration of your WordPress site. For any improvements that could be made, see the site health status page. So this is really cool. So when you open this up, it's showing you that you're using WordPress 5.5, my site language, my URL. You can see my permalink structure. This is awesome that this happens now. I'm part of a plugin from Maintain, which is a web dev studios company. We have a plugin that does this, that shows you all this. And this is really cool that this is in here. So this shows you here. It's going to show you your directories and sizes. So this is telling me where on my server this actually lives, my directory size. My WordPress directory size is 21 gigs. That's awesome, dog. Upload directory size 3.5, 3.75. That's awesome. Theme directory location. So, this is really cool. This is all great stuff. So when we come into troubleshooting, let's do this, right? You're going to enable troubleshooting mode. So right now, I am in troubleshooting mode. You'll see that I'm on the WordPress dashboard. I'm on dashboard and I'm on home. And normally there'd be the stupid annoying little widget things that are showing, and I don't have any of that. But now this is showing me that I'm in troubleshooting mode. So if I come to the front of my site, it's broken. Woo! That's awesome. Let's go to, these are my available plugins. So you can see nothing is active. If I come over here, why is this active? This is weird. Let's go back to that troubleshooting screen. All right, so I think everything has to happen through here. All right, so don't touch your plugins, don't touch your settings, don't touch anything other than outside of this here. So what I want to do is let's go to my theme, and I'm going to switch to Contentberg. Let's see what that does. Now it shows me that my theme, the active one, is now Contentberg. So if I go to the front end of my site, it's still broken. I think whatever I did is not happy on my website, but the point here is that you can come in here and change. I'm going to switch back to Nev. This should now show me that I'm using Nev. And then you just click on disable troubleshooting, and we're back to a normal site. So this is a really cool tool. I would learn how to use it on local first, or maybe learn how to use it on staging before you put it on your direct environment. But that's a pretty cool tool. How was that, Chris? Chris Rogers?
Yeah, it sounds great. I just want to make sure that that you like it, and don't you think it'll probably be rolled into native like next update?
No. So that's another big controversy that we're going to talk about in the second part. But no, they've already declared what's coming out in 5.6, and this is not on the agenda. Alrighty. Questions, comments, concerns, tomatoes from the cheap seats, anything?
One comment about the next release. One interesting thing. The next release is gonna be all woman.
Yeah.
Super
So
cool.
I want to touch on that when we do the Q&A portion, because it's very important that we talk about this. Thank you for bringing that up, Manny.
No problem.
Yeah. Anything else? Look at Matt. Matt, where are you right now? Are you in Hawaii? He's so far we can't hear him.
I'm in the mountains.
Oh, you're in the mountains.
Jason is in Paris.
Jason isn't. Oh no, that's on
I'm
the
in
strip.
Hawaii.
That's on the strip. Oh, I can't see everybody. How do I see more people?
Oh yeah, at the strip.
They have to turn on their video. That's why.
No, I mean like I can't even see participation.
There's a few
numbers.
different
Scroll-
options. When
Scroll to the right.
Grids up at the top right, it gives
Yeah,
you like 2 or 3 different options.
I can see a handful of people. It's cool. Hello. All right. Let's talk about what does headless WordPress mean? How many people here know what headless WordPress means? Show of hands. That's a joke because some people don't have cameras on. All right. Can everybody see my screen here? Cool. So for those of you who don't know, the last time you saw me, I was still working at the Plaza Hotel and Casino, and for the foreseeable future, I am furloughed at the Plaza Hotel and Casino, which means I have a job. I just don't do diddly with it. We have a podcast. It's called On the Corner of Main Street. If you go over to Spotify or just go over to the Plaza website, you can go find the podcast there. We talk about downtown Las Vegas, and I got the CEO to do it with us. So it was a group of 3 of us, and we were going to do it, and we got Jonathan to do it with us. It's really cool. And we just did an episode about the mob the other day, which was awesome. We had Derek Stevens. He was talking about the Circa. So outside of that, during this COVID, I've kind of found my love for WordPress again, and that's why I rebuilt my site in Gutenberg. In doing so, I put my application out in a lot of places, and I got a call from Nexus, which is a liquid web company. And so for the last 2 months, I've been working customer support over at Liquid Web and Nexus for a hosting company. This is just another step in my WordPress career. I don't know anywhere I can go higher other than a hosting company, unless, it's NASA or something along those lines. Awesome. So I'm doing this presentation. This is going to be Friday on WordCamp Minneapolis, which you can go over to WordCamp Minneapolis right now, get a free ticket. There's some great talks going on. Not only that, but if you go on Twitter, some of the sponsors like Liquid Web, they have a chat room, a special booth, and you can go hang out with like Chris Lemma, people like that over there, and I'm going to be one of the people there. So I'm literally getting paid to go hang out at WordCamp all day, which is pretty cool. So my name is Russell Aaron. They officially gave me a title today called WordPress Technician 2. I'm the only person in the company that has it. If you don't know me, I've been a WordPress guy in Vegas for years. I've worked in casinos, real estate, podcasts, agencies, and now hosting companies, and I've all done WordPress. Everywhere I've worked, I haven't done anything else other than WordPress, which is pretty cool. And I'm co-organizer of this meetup group. Some Twitter stuff, we'll put those in the notes. So let's talk about WordPress, traditional WordPress, how you know WordPress today. WordPress is primarily used to create, manage, and distribute content from all within your WordPress installation. So you have a website, your www.russellenvy.com. That lives, for me, it lives over on WP Engine. That is my host. So I have a folder over on a server somewhere that has my install of WordPress on it. And then when you type in www.russellenvy, it magically knows through DNS where to go to look for my website. And that is all powered by WordPress. So when I go into the back end of WordPress and you go to the front end of WordPress, those are two different sides, and that's what we're going to talk about. So most people think of WordPress as a CMS, a content management system, but it has so much more potential, and that is what I want to show you today. Headless WordPress is that other potential, and it's gaining a lot of popularity. The point of headless WordPress here is to solve page load times and delivery of multiple content to multiple publishing platforms. So this is possible by using an API, and we're going to get into this. So right now, WordPress has two primary functions. We have a backend, provide a backend admin panel where a user logs into the site and you manage your content. All your pages, all your posts, all your images, your forms, your email settings, that's the backend of WordPress. When you go into yoursite.com/wp-admin, that is the backend of WordPress. Then the other primary function of WordPress is to serve the front end of your site. This is where the theme and your plugins come into play as well. It presents all of your content, the front end presents all of your content to the exterior of the site, also known as your front end. So together, the front and the back end dynamically gather content and serve it whenever people ask for this. And they try to do it as quickly as possible. What's really cool is between these two layers, everything here runs on PHP. The back end of WordPress, the front end of WordPress, all PHP. That's all we do here is PHP. You want JavaScript, go over to McDonald's. I don't know if that's true, but WordPress, all PHP right now, but we're changing. So the way the back end of WordPress works, okay, is when you go into WP admin and you go into all pages, that page right there inside of WordPress goes to your database and says, hey, anything called a page, go get it, return it here, and this is what I want it to look like. That's the design of the back end. And let's say you have a blog post called Hello World. When you click on edit, that screen goes to another page called WP admin /page/ whatever. I got a link coming in. But so that template goes into the WordPress database and says, hey, this has a page ID of number 6. Go get me all the data that replies or that comes together with ID number 6. And then that page loads it and it populates your page, and this is where you can edit it. All right. So we're just talking about the back end of WordPress. When you're looking at anywhere inside of WordPress, that page, when it loads, it goes to the database, gets any option it needs to populate the page, and then displays it. And then it gives you a cool way to actually say, no, I don't want it to say Russell Envy. I want it to say myweddingsongs.com. Publish. And then it goes the other way. It takes that data that you just entered and it saves it to the database. So this is how the back end of WordPress works. It gets information from the database and says, here, what do you want to do with it? You say, here, I want to change this, this, and this, or I want to move this around, hit save, and it goes, cool, gotcha, and sends it out. On the front end of WordPress, it works a little bit differently. When somebody comes to your website and they go to russellenvy.com/WordPress-qualifications, WordPress does a very quick check and says, hey, what's the post ID of this URL? And it says 257. Great. My theme says, go get everything relayed to this post ID number, which is the title, the content, the metadata, the permalink, the author, all that data that you mess with on the back end of WordPress. It goes and gathers that, and then your theme displays it how it wants to. This is, again, all done by PHP, whether you're on the back end or on the front end. Everything says, hey, get me a page ID number, and then get me all the page content and display it like this. This is called loading on the fly. Every single time you go and visit my page, PHP is redoing this. It's just like clockwork. Anytime someone hits refresh, PHP has to go and do it again. This is why we cache. This is why we try to save things statically. If nothing changes, if the logo doesn't change, why do I have to re-download the image again? Show me the image I downloaded like a year ago. That's what caching does. So that's the back end and front end of WordPress. It goes into the database, gets some stuff, and you interact with it. And then the front end says, hey, this is what Russell did behind the scenes, and he wants this page to look this way, and you're going to go buy his course. That's how all this works. So let's take a look at this, okay? here's the back end of WordPress. yourdomain.com/wpadmin/post.php, post equals, here's an ID, 66, and action equals edit. This means something. These are parameters. These are query parameters in the URL. So when you load this, when you look at this, okay, you are on your website and you are inside the WP admin folder. So if you have ever seen your SFTP credentials, or you've seen the file manager and you've seen the WP admin folder, we're inside of that and we're using a template called post.php. So right now, this file says, hey, right now we're on page 66, or we're using 66. Go get me the title, go get me all the content and how it's displayed, and allow this person to edit it. That's what's happening here. So now here's the back end of WordPress. I can take that sample page title and I can change it to make it say Matt Campbell's cool. I can make all the content say, go download all of Matt's stuff over on myweddingsongs.com, go listen to his podcast, and then I hit save. And then when you come to the front end, this is what the front end looks like. You don't go to post.php/66. You actually go to yourdomain.com/sample-page. And WordPress just says, hey, I got it. Anytime someone goes to this URL, I know where to go get the database. I know how to interact with it. This is all how this works together. And this is currently how your WordPress site works today. This is nothing new. This is how WordPress has always worked. It communicates with the database, and depending on which part you're on, you're either getting the front or the back. So the key takeaway here is all of this happens in the hosting environment provided by, they pay me to say this, your managed WordPress web hosting company. The key takeaway is that PHP powers the front and the back end of your WordPress site. WordPress powers the front and back ends of your WordPress site. I just want to make sure, we put that in there twice. All right, what is headless WordPress? First, before we talk about headless WordPress, you need to know what a headless CMS is. And a headless CMS, it enables publishers to create and manage all of their digital content in one place. While developers, they can interact with the data. They don't have to interact with PHP, or they don't have to interact with anything on the server. They're just going to get some data from your website, and then they're going to go display it somewhere else. They're going to go display it on their app. They're going to go display it on their website. They're going to go display it on their internet. The point is that you have this website that has all this data. Maybe it's a known list of all the spammers in the world who voted for Trump. You have this database. You can actually pull that API, query that database if they give it to you, and you can use that in your code. You can say, hey, if anybody from this IP is coming, block this. So we no longer have to install software on the same place that like the front end is being used. With an API, 2 servers, one in China, one in like Brazil, these 2 things can operate a service, and they're not even by each other. They're just sending data through an API to each other, and they're just communicating. It's brilliant. So a headless CMS is where you have a place like Google Drive can technically be a headless CMS. It has an API that you can pull from. So anywhere that you can manage, store data, organize it, the back end of WordPress is probably a good place. And it doesn't have a front end of the site. You don't do anything with it. It's just a big data warehouse. It's like Blockbuster now. It's just a bunch of VHSs sitting around at a U-Haul somewhere. It's a headless WordPress, or a headless CMS. So headless WordPress is using WordPress as that headless CMS. So you no longer have a front end of your website. You're going to go to wherever your WordPress website is, and that's where you're going to manage. And then you're actually going to have your domain name that could be hosted at the same place. It's not using PHP. We're actually, what we're doing here is we're decoupling WordPress, okay? So headless WordPress is a development method using WordPress as a headless CMS. Developers can utilize the WordPress REST API and they can build the front end of a website or an application all using a different coding language. This is where React comes in. React is a JavaScript framework that a lot of people use to build fast websites, fast loading stuff, headless WordPress sites for sure. Gatsby is another thing that we're using. So what we're trying to do with headless WordPress is deliver as much as we can statically. You shouldn't have to download the background page, the little boxes, the little template. You shouldn't have to download that anytime. That should just be when you click a button, it should just load, it should just swipe, and all that you're doing is saying, hey, well, I'm going to a different page, load me some content. I'm going to show you what this looks like in a minute. But so headless WordPress is using the headless CMS approach. Your WordPress site lives one place, and your actual website that displays all the content does something else with another language. So the backend remains the same. It allows publishers to create posts and pages. You can still edit themes. You can still edit the appearances, and you have access to other settings. So everything that you do, nothing really changes. Instead of using a PHP theme, we're just going to use a JavaScript-based theme now, or we're going to use some other JavaScript technology somewhere else to show the front end of your website. Any coding language that can accept data over an HTTP request, I'm going to show you what this looks like, you can use it, okay? So now, here's what I want you to pay attention to is look at the backend URL website. You can see that now my backend lives on randomdomain.nexus.net. As long as this website has WordPress installed on it, my website is going to put out an API URL, and then my JavaScript app, my thing that lives somewhere else, all I have to do is say, hey, whenever you're trying to load content, go get it from randomdomain.nexus.net/wpjson/post. Manny's going to show you some cool things later, but so I can basically take my website, okay? So I'm going to take russellenvy.com. I'm going to go get GoDaddy hosting, and I'm going to have a very small account because I only need 5 files to make this whole thing possible. I'm going to have a JavaScript app, and this app is going to say, all right, when you load the home page, this is the API to go get the home page. When I want this, this is what I want to go get. So I'm going to build this very simply, and you don't even know that A, my site is on WordPress, and B, unless you see the code, you don't even know where this is at. So not only does this help load pages quickly and allow you to distribute content just by using the API, this is now another layer of security. You're going to have your WordPress in some headless WordPress sites. You don't even need a hosting company. You can install WordPress locally, like using Gatsby, generate the files, and upload them straight to a CDN. You don't need a host ever again if you want to go this way. This is the future of WordPress. So let's talk about what the benefits here of headless WordPress is, all right? So far, you have a front end and back end of WordPress, and what we're doing is we're no longer using the front end of WordPress. You're no longer going to have to go buy a theme. You're no longer going to have to worry about if you use the events calendar. You're never going to have to style that thing again. Oh my goodness. You're never going to have to style Gravity Form set or Contact Form 7 ever again. This is brilliant. This is going to be great. I'm getting excited just thinking about not ever using Contact Form 7 ever again. So we're only using the backend of WordPress, and we're going to use the JavaScript app. We're going to use React. We're going to use Gatsby, GraphQL. We're going to use some way to interact with the WordPress database to build an application, to go build a static website. So what are some benefits here? Traditional WordPress, the WordPress you have today, already has a staggering number of benefits. But there's always ways to improve. You can get faster page times. We want to distribute content to multiple places. And in some cases, we want to have offline capabilities. Website crashes, it's okay. You have a copy of the website on your phone because it's a small little print file that you have, and you can still interact with it. This isn't anything new. Google Maps has been doing this for years. You can take Google Maps and download a section of Google Maps onto your phone, And it still works. You can be in the middle of Antarctica with no Wi-Fi, and as long as you have this thing downloaded on your phone, you could still zoom in and see the map. You know, you can't see it live, but you see a copy and you can still see streets. So, you know, with this new technology, you can do cool things like not even needing to have the thing online. Somebody just needs to have a copy of your website, a copy of your app, and you can still make sales, which is cool. So right now, this is what Headless WordPress, what we want to do. We want to increase page speed, distribute multiple channels, or we want to build static websites on a small budget. And I'm going to show you what this looks like. Each one of these has a unique reason, so let's go take a look, all right? Increasing page speed. You can use a tool like Jamstack. This is really cool. You can go Google this right now. Jamstack generates web pages into pre-built files. This is one of those things that I was saying. You can use WordPress on your local computer and tie it to Jamstack. And what will happen is you're going to hit publish, and Jamstack is going to go and download every page, every front-end version of your website and put it together for you. And it's going to make these pre-built little files. And then it's going to upload it to a content delivery network, which is a CDN. So what that means is that we're going to upload our files to our account on our CDN, and then that CDN is going to distribute it everywhere it has a data center across the world. So when somebody in China wants to download, you know, russellenvies.com, they don't have to go to my web host that's WP Engine in Texas, because I have a content delivery network. I have a network that stores a version of my website in a server in like Shanghai or maybe in London. So instead of having to make that jump digitally to go get a copy of my website in Houston, Dallas, wherever it is, you have a copy of it in New York, a copy of it in Atlanta, a copy of it in San Francisco. So, you know, people don't have to wait. And so with the CDN, you know, we're no longer talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 second page speed downloads. This is already delivered. This is already built. This is already done. Now somebody just has to click it and this thing renders, and then it's going to look like an app. I'm going to show you. Roy just built a really cool thing here. So we're going to increase overall page speed. And progressive web apps, this is another thing here. It allows you to interact with the API, and these progressive web apps, they use modern technologies to provide web application type functionality. It's really cool stuff. Distributing content to multiple places. This is big today. How many people, show of hands, you've got a podcast? Show of hands, you've got a Twitter feed, you've got a Facebook feed, you've got a Meetup feed, you've got a Etsy feed. How many times have you answered this question? How am I going to take the same content on my website and now copy it over to Etsy? Oh man, I made a typo. Now I got to go copy and paste it in 2 places. Wouldn't it be easy if you could just type it in one place and then tell Etsy, hey, this is the path to go get my data. Whenever that changes, just get it from here. It's a lot easier, especially with podcasts now. When we want to distribute my podcast to Libsyn or to Spotify, we can use APIs. So basically, I can have a hosting account, and now I can store all my media files on my host, which I still never recommend you do. But technically we could, and then I can supply an API to Libsyn, and now, you know, that's just the feed that they would get from my podcast. I don't ever want to do that, but with WordPress, this is possible. And I have some use cases coming up to where headless WordPress is more practical than probably the way I'm describing it. But we want to distribute content. So the REST API was delivered in 4.7, WordPress version 4.7. It started out as a plugin. A guy and a woman, they got together and they made a plugin. It's great. And we rolled it into core. That was in 4.7. That was December 2015. Yeah, somewhere around there. So before that, the only way to get website data from one place to another was to copy and paste. That's all I could do. Copy and paste, copy and paste. Now, with the REST API, you no longer have to copy and paste if you're taking advantage of it. tools like WP GraphQL, this is its own API. Manny's going to show you this after, but sometimes the WordPress API is too slow. Sometimes if you are a big content publisher like the Denver Post, you need something quicker, and GraphQL is quicker because with GraphQL, you only query the stuff you want. So with the WordPress REST API, WordPress spits everything that's connected to the API. You have a gravity form, you've got a setting, you've got this. It spits out all this whether you want it or not. It's your job to say, all right, now that I have all this code from this API, what do I want to pluck out of it? With GraphQL, WP GraphQL, and hooking up to Gatsby, what you're doing is you're saying, hey, go get me all the posts, but I only need the title and the content. I'm only building an archive. I don't need anything else. So just go get me these 3 things, which is considerably faster instead of saying, hey, go get me the same data, but bring all the metadata with it, or just bring a fork and a spoon with it. You don't have to bring the whole kitchen sink. So, this is one way that we're helping distribute, but it's also another way that we're loading fast web pages. And last but not least, static websites. Brochure websites. How many people here do you think would classify your website as a brochure? I would definitely classify my website as a brochure. When you go to russellenvy.com, I have links to services that I use. I use Calendly, however you want to pronounce it. That's how I book all my WordPress appointments. Nothing on my site really interacts other than one gravity form. I have 2 gravity forms. I have a submit your band and I have a contact form. Everything else is a brochure. It's a page, it's a landing page. It's either a blog post that you're gonna laugh or hate, or it's a thing where I'm saying, hey, I offer WordPress services and this is what I do. This is a brochure website. It's a term used to describe websites only displaying content to help educate users passing by. Typically, these are static files living on a CDN. There are thousands of websites out there today, right now. Their sole purpose is only to raise awareness for a cause, right? They're not taking in donations, or maybe they are, but they're not using WooCommerce, they're not using Gravity Forms, they're using Shopify. So they have a website, called something.org. Whoa, who's drawing? Threw me off for a minute. So you can have a website like 3 Square Food Bank, which is a food bank here in Las Vegas, and if you just use other services, you can link out to them. So that's a brochure website. It's just you only have maybe a restaurant, you have your about page, your menu, and a contact page. That's a brochure website. You don't need WordPress and PHP. Technically, you have like 4 paragraphs and 2 pictures. You don't need WordPress and a database and $50 a month in hosting and paying for it. You don't need all that. You need a simple design that says, here's how to contact me, here's my menu, and here's the place where to show up. So building with static WordPress sites not only is going to just change even the way that those small businesses are impacted, this is going to change everything. Soon, everybody is going to upload their website and it's all going to be on a CDN. No more hosting, no more farms, no more crazy things like that. It's only going to be the power that we need. This is all great. Can somebody remove, can you guys see this red squiggle on my screen?
I see.
Can somebody remove that? Can I remove that? Ivan, I think it is. Can you remove that for me, please?
I don't know how that happened.
I don't know either, but maybe I stopped sharing my screen. Maybe that will help.
Yeah, restart it maybe.
How about stop share? And then let's go share screen, and we'll go into here. We'll go to share.
There we go.
Cool, better. All right, so let's look at some use cases. Is anybody confused? Anybody want to talk about anything that I've gone over? I know I've gone a little fast, but hopefully the idea here is that you're no longer using WordPress as we are today. We're using a different questions, comments. Let's take a minute. All right, use cases. So like I said, restaurant owners. Sometimes I work for one right now. Oscar's Steakhouse inside the plaza. This is a brochure website. This should be built on Gatsby, which is static things. And all you can really do here is basically come and look about Oscar, see, what he did for the mob, what he did for the city of Las Vegas, what he's doing now, and you can come eat at his restaurant. This is a really good use case where headless WordPress would be the best idea for this business because no more hosting. You have a WordPress headless WordPress install somewhere, and you just teach people how to use that. Again, this is a good use case. You only have a couple pages that need a display, a couple things at best. You don't need all this PHP and power to generate this page. That's a little overkill. Hotels and casinos. Another use case is, so I work at the Plaza, and our website only does one thing. We collect emails. If you go to the Plaza website, you can either click on a button and you're taken to another place where we sell our tickets or we book our reservations. We don't actually do anything on our website other than collect an email. And we use Gravity Forms for that. So this is a really good use case of our headless WordPress install that we're building for the Plaza. It's just going to be like an app. You're going to click on it. You're going to see the homepage. You're going to see the rooms. It's going to move and scroll like an app, but it's going to be all headless WordPress CMS because all we're doing is saying, hey, when you're ready, we're going to click book now, and it's going to go to our booking engine. This is a really good use case where you would use WordPress because you have a lot of pages. And on the website, we have promotions, we have comedy, we have bingo and slot tournaments. Like we have a lot of stuff going on. So we want to use a content management system to group all that stuff, group all of our ads, all of our bingo, all the stuff like that. But on the front end, I'm going to use JavaScript. I'm going to use something that sends it to a CDN, and my website is going to be blazing fast because it's all pre-built files, and you're not actually interacting with anything. You're being, sent somewhere else. Last but not least, newspapers and content publishers. This is a really good use case. Jason, are you in here? Where's my publishers? Let's go. I do not see him. Jason Ball. If you guys don't know, Jason B-H-A-L or B-A-H-L. Hold on, I have it up here.
B-H-A-L. B-A-H-L.
Yeah, okay. Let's bring this up here. Let's go to his profile. How do I click on him? Here, I'll bring it up on screen. This is Jason Ball. This is who I have learned headless WordPress from. This is the guy doing GraphQL and doing a lot of cool stuff. I go on YouTube at night. Fun fact about me, even when I'm not doing WordPress, I'm doing WordPress. I watch YouTube, I watch videos. He's got some very good videos on how they use the REST API to distribute content. So he used to work at the Denver Post, and they have news affiliates all over the country, Georgia, Tennessee, everything like that. So they use WordPress. They use one install of WordPress, which is at, randomdomain.nexus.net, something like that. They use a WordPress install that their entire team, no matter where they are, they just need an internet connection and the credentials to log into this thing. And they can publish a content. They can publish a post. And then that post is added into the mix, into the API. It goes into a category, it goes into your pages, your posts. It gets blended into the mix. And then all of those content publishers that are pulling from that API, if that post is on there, it gets displayed on the page. This is how we update 30 different websites in one shot using the REST API. This is literally content distribution at its best. This is the best way I can describe how easy it is going to be to have one central place where all your data lives, a data warehouse, all WordPress, and then you have multiple websites, little apps, things that connect to it and do some cool things. Newspapers, podcast publishers, all of them, they're all going to be using REST APIs. If they're not now, this is the way of the future. So what are some drawbacks? You probably already guessed a few. Russ, you're a nerd. You do all this stuff. You are happy to write code all day. You support people. What the hell am I going to use headless WordPress for? And you're absolutely right. You know, one of the reasons we tell you to use WordPress is that it's easy to use. You go and install a theme. That theme makes the header. It makes your logo. It makes the layout. The theme just handles it. You have a pizza shop. You don't care how headless works or your web. I don't care. You're the geek, Russ. You make it work. I run the WordPress business, but some people aren't that lucky and they need to do all this themselves. So with WordPress, you might not want to be headless if you have to do all this yourself and you don't want to get into how JavaScript works or how deploying to a CDN works, things like that. Having to build a separate front end is also time costly. I have a lot of time during COVID right now, so I have a lot of fun building. But when I go back to work full time, or when I'm not doing support all day, it's going to be harder. But building websites by hand or installing a theme, I'm taking a theme every single time, and I don't blame you if that's your answer as well. But these are some of the setbacks. One of the reasons it's popular, you install a theme. In most cases, it's a couple of bucks. You click a button, you transform the look of your website, bam, boom, Bob's your uncle. It makes building a website simpler and easy. Gone are the days of having to learn HTML and PHP. You install your theme, and you install, Elementor now. You don't even have to write code anymore. You just, say, I want a column here. I want to column here. Here's my header. Here's the photo. You don't even have to write that HTML anymore. Again, headless WordPress is probably not for you if you are just looking to, have your cat blog on here and you don't want to do anything else. Then just let WordPress do its thing. John, I got one more slide, and then you can say hi to everybody. So in conclusion, headless WordPress installs are most likely going to be utilized right now by developers. Nerds like me, like Jason, like Manny, who you're going to see, maybe Chris Rogers, we'll see. But as web technology right now progresses, more WordPress users, they're going to start looking for alternatives because honestly, caching sucks. At the end of the day, you're installing a caching plugin, you're clicking things are breaking. I don't want to deal with that. I want an API. I want something that just goes and gets my data and handles it using JavaScript. This is the way of the future. This is going to be how we distribute content to multiple places at blazing fast speeds. Once again, I just started my job over at Nexus. This is my presentation that I'm giving over at WordCamp Minneapolis on Friday. You can go get tickets right now. WordCamp Minneapolis 2020 is what I would search. Questions, comments, concerns, anybody? And scene. What do you think, Chris? Did I do it right?
It was brilliant. It changed my life.
Nice. John Hawkins, how are you, sir? If you guys don't know. There he is. Hey, man. So we just talked about headless WordPress and all the cool, fun things that you can do. If you have anything you want to say, now's a good time. If not, we're going to jump into Manny.
I got nothing.
Manny, Manny, you should be able to share your screen and please take it away. Show us some cool stuff with WP GraphQL.
Sure thing. Yeah. Who here is a WordPress developer or web developer besides me, John, and who else?
All the usual suspects.
Yeah, Bob is also a WordPress developer. Well, if you are not a WordPress developer, I think one easy way for you to understand how this works, and let me share my screen here really quick. Desktop 2. One website that heavily utilizes the power of GraphQL is Facebook. So you see here my Facebook page, and I'm going to show you really. Do you see my Facebook here? Do you guys see it?
Yep.
Yeah. So let's say if I click something here, for instance, if I want to click on this, it's not actually loading the whole website again or anything. It's just making one request, and that is actually querying the Facebook database to only bring me this piece of code, this piece of content. So that's the power of GraphQL, because you can like filter out content without having to load like the whole thing, the whole framework, you know. So this is one of the powers, one very popular website, you know, Facebook, that actually utilizes the GraphQL. And today, I was thinking about doing slides and all that and the whole thing, but then as Bruce mentioned, this guy, he's just amazing. And what I want to share today is his presentation, and we can do like a watch party, and I can pause at any time, because I think he did like an amazing job explaining this. Much better than I think I could do it, you know. So let me know if you guys can hear this, and let me put this. Oops, not that fast, right? Oh no. I always listen to things super fast. So.
I do as well.
Yeah. Let me know if you can hear this. Can you hear this, Russ?
No.
Wait. Just a second. Let me make this, let me share this audio, right? You can't listen to him, right?
Yeah, we can't hear him talking.
Okay, hold on just a second. I think I have to set this up here.
If not, you can just push play and I'll just do a word for word. I got it. I know.
Okay, what is it? Audio. I want the audio to be this device. Do you hear?
Still nothing, my man. Still nothing.
Oh boy.
In Zoom, Manny,
Yes.
there's a setting that you have to set for allow like share.
Allow audio.
Yeah, share computer audio.
Yeah, hold on. Let me stop this and then Zoom settings. Audio settings. Just a second. Audio. So speaker, okay, it's GMI. There's it. Hello, hello. Okay, let's see if you can. Hope you guys can hear this. Oops, that's not the video that I want. Still no audio?
Yeah, you're not even sharing screen anymore.
No audio, Bruce?
Yeah, no audio, and you're not sharing your screen anymore, my man.
Oh, no. I can't hear you guys.
I'm right here still.
You can hear this? No.
I can't hear anything. I can't hear any audio. I can hear you. Crystal clear.
Where is it, John? I can't find it, the place to share this. You know?
Right. So first off, right now you're not showing your audio. I mean, you're not showing your screen.
Oh, I'm not?
No.
Correct.
Okay. There you go.
Okay. Then
More.
it might actually be in the settings. Sorry, man. Zoom is a paying for this. Hit play right there.
Nothing.
No. Let's just send everybody the link. We'll watch it in our own time.
How about now? Nothing?
No.
Hold on. I have an idea. I had an idea. There we go. Hold on. Okay.
Yeah,
Do you hear now?
I do.
WordPress engineer, Digital First Media in Denver, Colorado. I've been developing on WordPress for about 9 years. GraphQL developer now for about 1.5 years. Denver native, and of course the creator maintainer of WP GraphQL plugin. So what I want to talk about today, first, why does WordPress and GraphQL make sense in the first place? I want to look at this from my business perspective where I work. What does it solve for us specifically? And then what can GraphQL solve for the greater WordPress community? And then I'll do a quick WordPress overview for those of you that have never used WordPress or maybe haven't used it in a long time. Usually I'm talking to WordPress community about GraphQL. Now I'm talking about GraphQL community about WordPress. So, and then we'll actually look at what it takes to install, activate, and start using the GraphQL plugin. And then I'll do a couple quick demos. And then I want to talk about a couple things I've learned while building and maintaining the plugin. So first off, why WordPress plus GraphQL? So in the first place, at Digital First Media where I work, we have, we're a publishing company. We have like 106 newspapers across the country. We publish lots of content on the web, native apps, and print. So we have 106 distributed websites that operate independently but need to be able to syndicate content to and from each other. So yeah, we have distributed WordPress installs. We need to manage them one at a time, but also from a higher level view. So like my team that has our hands in 106 installs needs to be able to somehow look at that data without having to go to 106 separate sites. Content syndication. So when you publish an article on, let's say, San Jose Mercury News, maybe Los Angeles Dodgers are in the World Series or whatever, right? You publish that. Maybe you want that to be published on 3 other newspapers. Mercury News as the canonical. So we're sending data from one side to another. And we were doing that with REST for a while, but GraphQL made sense for us, and I'll explain why. And then micro apps, like I mentioned, we have 106 sites. Our team needs to interact with those, and it's hard to do that one at a time. So be able to access data from multiple different WordPress installs and be able to see what's going on. GraphQL makes sense for that. So what WordPress kind of looks like if you just install it, right? You have WordPress, you have a dashboard, you publish content, goes on your theme, right? In our case, it's a news theme. It could be a marketing theme, can be whatever. We also use WordPress to populate our native apps. So we have iOS and Android, same content coming from the same WordPress install, differently, in some cases, different content altogether to those sources. We also use WordPress as a source for print. So if you're reading San Jose Mercury News, for example, the print edition got populated from content that was entered initially in WordPress. As time has gone on, the WordPress dashboard isn't the only entry point for entering content. There's decoupled applications. Calypso is a popular project in the WordPress community. It's WordPress.com's React-based JavaScript application that communicates over REST as well. So you can communicate with WordPress outside of the WordPress PHP dashboard. And again, they have mobile and native mobile clients to communicate as well. So you have different sources creating content, different sources rendering content. So for a long time, in tech time, 15 months or so, we've been using the REST API very heavily to do these things. But we don't have just one site. Like I said, we have 106 sites. So we have, at the center, we have a site that communicates with all these sites, but we have lots and lots and lots of sites. So we have to manage them each on their own, but also as a cluster, because we also divest properties every once in a while. So they need to be able to operate on their own if they got bought by another company. So yeah, pretty common story in the GraphQL community. We've been doing that with doing a lot of syndication of content with REST. So some frustrations we ran into, the implicit request, just seeing an endpoint in a code base. When the developer's writing the code, cool, they're familiar with the docs, REST request makes sense. 6 months, a year down the road, what was that person expecting to get from this endpoint? Gets a little frustrating, where an explicit GraphQL request makes it a lot easier to understand the original intent. We're sending data all across the web, right? We have 106 sites, like I said, and we're syndicating data across the board. So to get one article from one site to another, we have the article content, we have the author, we have the author's image, we have the author's, maybe top recent posts or whatever. We have all sorts of related content. So to get one full article from one site to the next, we're making tons and tons of REST requests to get that data, which gets troublesome to maintain over time. Yeah, so what we thought was, let's take the same structure we have, right? WordPress in the center, different things, creating content, same output, but do what we've heard today. Let's have everything talk to GraphQL and just wrap the WordPress REST API. Okay, so we did that. I created kind of a wrapper in Node using, I think, Apollo server, just as a mock to kind of sell it to my team. Like, GraphQL makes sense, right? We can make these explicit queries. It's going to save us a lot of headaches understanding what data is going where. But over time, because we were supporting all these different use cases, our REST API had grown to be this behemoth endpoint. Like, an article endpoint has anything you could possibly want about an article. So you get, just for a list of 10 posts, you get 6,000 lines of JSON back, when all you needed for your particular case was maybe the title and the link and ID. But we're giving you 10,000 lines of JSON to parse. And we have to go collect that and give it to you. So this is actually a screenshot I took today from one of our production REST APIs, just to throw ourselves under the bus here. So almost 2.5 seconds just to get 10 posts from our WordPress REST API. Interesting. It's crazy. So wrapping REST with GraphQL in our case still led to frustrations with the REST, because at the end of the day, we're still dealing with REST. It just brought to light another problem, which was the poor performance, right? So yeah, we got to that point where we wanted REST to provide everything. And so our endpoints are just crazy. And wrapping REST with GraphQL, if it's a non-performant REST API, it's a non-performant GraphQL API. For the most part. So the next approach, we thought, okay, how can we solve this? We really like GraphQL. We don't want to wrap the REST API. So let's just make WordPress a GraphQL server. So we could have approached this and just solved this for our company internally, made a private GitHub repo, go to town on GraphQL. But we started thinking, hey, if this makes sense for us, it might make sense for the rest of the WordPress community. If GraphQL is a nice experience to develop with WordPress, let's make it open source. So WordPress and GraphQL make sense together. They both have similar goals, both open source software. WordPress currently powers 28% of the web. There's a stated goal in WordPress of reaching 51% of the web. GraphQL, Lee Byron in GraphQL Europe stated that he wants to see ubiquity, right? GraphQL everywhere within 4 to 5 years, right? So they can help each other, right? If GraphQL comes to WordPress, which already has this massive footprint on the web, WordPress can help push GraphQL forward. GraphQL can help push WordPress forward. They're both open source, community centric, both solve general problems for the web. So GraphQL.org suggests this is a way to build a good GraphQL server. So at the bottom you have a persistence layer, then you have business logic layer with authorization, REST RPC, and in the middle, GraphQL. That's the missing piece in WordPress. WP GraphQL brings that missing piece. So WP GraphQL is a free open source WordPress plugin that provides an extendable GraphQL schema and API for any WordPress site. For those who aren't familiar with WordPress, I'll give a quick rundown. So WordPress, when you install it, you get a dashboard, right? You can log in, has authentication built in. In this case, I have posts populated with movie data from the movie database. So you have interface to edit posts. You can search for posts. You can filter posts. You can edit posts. You can add a title, add content, add custom fields, meta fields. You can tag it, categorize your content, and do all sorts of stuff. You have tags and categories, which are taxonomy terms that help you relate content across your WordPress install. You have media library built in, where you can edit media items, videos, images, whatnot. There's a user system with roles and capabilities, so you can assign what roles users can have and what capabilities those roles are assigned. You have a commenting system, right? You can write comments on posts and whatnot. Then you have themes, which is the front end of the site, and you have plugins. Plugins are similar to like JavaScript middleware or whatnot, right? So you can add a plugin, it adds some sort of functionality to WordPress. So WP GraphQL is a plugin. So to add the WP GraphQL plugin to WordPress, you visit GitHub. You start the repo, of course. You tweet about how awesome it is to use GraphQL with WordPress. Then you clone or download the plugin. And then you install and activate it. So to install and activate it, right, it will show up in your panel. You'll have WP GraphQL listed in your admin. Just click activate. In this case, I'm activating 2 plugins. I have WP GraphQL and a separate WP GraphQL, which adds GraphQL as an admin pane in your WordPress install. So once you have that active, you have the full puzzle together, right? We have REST API, we have RPC, and now we have GraphQL and WordPress. And we have the authorization and business logic layer that you already have implemented for your WordPress site. So what the plugin does, it treats your data like a graph. So what does WordPress look like as an application data graph? You have posts, you have users, you have comments, pages, terms, media, and they all have connections with each other to some degree. So the plugin just turns WordPress into a graph. So I'm going to do some demos now. Let's see. All right.
Hey Manny, how much time do we have on this?
Come again?
This next part kind of gets a little technical, and I was wondering if we maybe want to avoid that and maybe go into some more questions, or you know, just, it's really cool for this. I don't know, you know, thoughts, questions.
How about everybody else? Do you guys want to see the examples, or should we skip it? All right, Bob is okay. How about you, Jason? What do you think? What do you guys think?
All right, let's let it roll.
Yeah, let's
Cool.
do it. Yeah, he's gonna fail really quick. He's gonna fail his first example. You know, guys know demos.
Yeah.
Hard, but then he's gonna show it like in his local machine, and then it's gonna work. So hang in there.
That look okay? All right, so just to get, let's say, a list of posts, we can get a list of posts, and of course it's gonna go slow. Hello. Or not. All right, I'll switch to local install. So we can get a list of posts. It uses relay style edges and node shape. So we can specify what we want to get from that, and by default it's going to have a schema built for you that matches the WordPress schema. So if we want to get nested data like an author, we can do that and get that. Just like any WordPress or GraphQL API, we can use variables, right? I'll change this to local too.
Yeah. So this is one of the advantages of using GraphQL instead of JSON or the others API or the other API is because you can specify what the output that you want. Instead of receiving whatever the JSON callback is, you can specify, oh, I just want the name, the title, and the ID. So the payload is lightweight, you know. So it's I think it's the main advantage is this one. You know?
So yeah, we can pass variables, we can paginate, so I can take a cursor, get the post before or after that cursor. And that's something, if you're familiar with WordPress, there's not really any way to do cursor-based pagination in WordPress, so this plugin activates cursor-based pagination. So we can say we want to get the post after that cursor, and we'll get the post after that cursor. So same thing, we can get deeply nested data as well in WordPress now without having to make several REST API requests like we would have had to before. So I want to look at what it takes to extend the schema. So WordPress has a easy to use hook and filter system, so it's easy to extend things in WordPress. So I want to take a look at what it takes to extend WP GraphQL. So a common thing you can do in WordPress is to register a post type. Post type is just a new content type, right? A place to store content. So let's say we're creating a bookstore for GraphQL Summit. We might register a post type. What is this, 8-9 lines of code? So we hook in, we say, hey, WordPress, I want to register a post type called books. I want to have fields, title editor, and custom fields. And then I say, I want it to show in my GraphQL schema. And in GraphQL, I want it to be called book and books for plural. And then I can add a custom taxonomy. A taxonomy is going to be a way to group these books. So we can add a genre taxonomy. Again, just 8 or so lines of code. And then we have an interface in WordPress and a GraphQL schema. And I'll show you what this looks like in a second. And then books also have maybe other properties like a price. So you can add a custom field to the book schema with just a few lines of code as well. So here we're adding to the GraphQL book fields, we're adding a field price, and then we set how to resolve that from the post meta. So what you get with just, what was that, 16, 20 lines of code, you get an interface in WordPress. I'll zoom that in a little bit. So you get an interface in WordPress now to manage books and then to manage genres for those books. And then we can query those with GraphQL. Maybe. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with that endpoint. I'll switch that one to local as well. Come on. Sorry about that. So yeah, I'll do this locally real quick then. So I have a demo plugin I created just for this. So I'll install that here. So we'll do a little bit extra demo. So add new, upload a plugin. So if we have a plugin, let's see. I'm going to install a few plugins to add for this demo real quick. So this is how easy it is to install a plugin though in WordPress. So you upload a plugin. If you have a zip, you upload it and you're good to go. All right, so this plugin is just these code snippets I have in the slides. So I'm going to activate that plugin, make sure it's active. Cool. So set some demo. So now I can query this locally. Maybe. They always say live demos are not a good idea, and I'm learning why that is. Sorry about that. So we'll do some actual live coding.
We got 5 more minutes, and then from 7:30 to 8, we'll do open Q&A.
All right, sorry about that. All right, so I don't have any data in my local site for this, but you can query now genres, edges, and node. One thing I do have local though that I want to show is a plugin called WP GraphQL Insights, which adds Apollo tracing to WP GraphQL. So Apollo tracing is a spec that Apollo has on collecting trace data for your resolvers, execution time, and whatnot. And then I also apply something called query log as well. So when you execute a query, you can see what queries are being run. So let's run this again. To get posts, if we look here under extensions, we get query log. We can see how many queries were run, what specific queries were run, and then we can use that as a way to troubleshoot how to optimize things internally. And then there's also tracing, which I'm going to have to change real quick as well. All right, so I have right now filtered to not show trace data, and I can filter it to show trace data. So now when I, just 2 lines of code I change to show trace data. So now I have trace data with my resolvers. So I can resolve data, resolve tracing. I get the start time, the end time, the duration of the entire query, the duration of each resolver, the path to the resolver. So this is what Apollo Optics, or Apollo Engine, I'm sorry, uses now to collect data. So we can send this data to a service like Optics. So WP GraphQL has that extension for you already. And then, so another common thing too, so WordPress, you're going to get WordPress schema for WordPress data out of the box. So posts, pages, comments, anything that WordPress does, you're going to have a schema for. You can browse the docs. You can query for it. You can mutate data as well. But WordPress doesn't have to be the data source, right? So this is an example of querying for a dad joke if you have the dad joke extension, of course, or the dad joke plugin. So WP GraphQL dad jokes, I built this just as a demonstration to show that WordPress doesn't have to be the data source for your data. So I just activated that plugin, and now I can query for a dad joke. In this case, I'm getting back, why was 10 scared of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. Right? So every time I execute a GraphQL query with a dad joke, I get a random dad joke, and this is resolving to I can't has dad jokes. So just to show, so WordPress can provide your schema, it can provide your resolvers, but it doesn't have to provide the data. So let's take a look. I want to show, I mentioned that WordPress has this authorization layer and business logic layer. So I want to showcase what that looks like with GraphQL. So we can make certain fields private or certain types private. For example, we can assign resolvers a certain role, so only administrators can see data for that field, perhaps. So I want to show what that might look like. So we'll just do that real quick with the dad jokes as an example, and say only certain roles can resolve a dad joke. So in WordPress, like I said, there's business rules already built in. So we can do something like in the resolver for getting the dad joke. All we have to do is say, can the current user do this? So just a few lines of code. We can say if current user can, and we'll just make up something. Do something crazy, which is not a capability anybody has. If the current user cannot do something crazy, don't return, don't do the execution, right? So let's do that again. Dad joke's gonna return null, right? But the rest, the posts that I do have access to, do resolve, right? Or I can throw an error, or I can throw an exception, or whatever I want to do. So we have granular control in WordPress to resolve what you want for your users' needs using existing WordPress foundation.
Cool, man. Manny, I think this is a good place to stop.
And then I also want to demonstrate.
Go ahead, Bruce.
It's 7:30. I think this is a good place to stop. You know, what I would say is if you're interested in watching the rest of this and seeing cool things, like literally go follow Jason on Twitter, boost that morale for him, and more things on YouTube. He's got wonderful presentations about GraphQL and what's possible. And like I said, this is an individual here that worked for the Denver Post and you know, used all of this cool stuff to send data across the world. Really, you know, interesting stuff. Manny, thank you.
Yeah, I shared the link also on the chat there.
Cool. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. I want to share some news with everybody here. Let me know when you can see my screen. So big news here is that we talked about this earlier in the episode, or episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's an episode. It's cool.
We're still seeing Manny's desktop. Oh, there we go. All right.
See mine now? Cool. I'm on WPTavern.com. So if you head over to WPTavern.com, you can see this article. The next release of WordPress is 5.6, and it's kicking off with an all-woman release squad. This is a great article. What I want to share with you about this article is this. Every woman, female, however they identify, can run circles around me. There are people in here like Helen Who's Sandy. She was the technical lead for 10 Up, and she's done some wonderful things. She's held job titles that I wish I had. There are a lot of people. I'm not going to share it. Again, this is on YouTube, so I don't want to share any of that. But if you go read some of these comments that are on here, there's a lot of people who have strong opinions on why this is not okay in our community. And I just want to share with you that this is going to be a great release. All these candidates that are mentioned in this article, you can go see their creds. They're readily available. You can go to wordpress.org and you can go see their profile, and you can see every plugin they've built, every contribution, the core that they've done. Wonderful stuff. But this is actually something in our community that's going on right now. If you go on Twitter, you can go voice your opinion, but there's a lot of arguments about how they feel about having an all-woman release, and we need to go fight these people. That they shouldn't be allowed in our community. And personally, if you have a problem with any of these people, let's talk about it. They're more than qualified, and I'm sure you'll see why this is great. But you know, this along with Astra in the last recent things, there's a lot of stuff going on, and Unsplash is another big one. How many people use Unsplash for their website? I use Unsplash all the time. So whenever I'm looking for a free image of a waitress feeding a blue jay, something like that, you know, like I go to Unsplash. And so they have now made themselves a WordPress plugin. It pulls from their API, and you can install this cool little plugin. And now you can add a featured image right from Unsplash. It's great. You can add an image in a block from Unsplash right into your post. You no longer have to go download it, add it to your media library, compress it, do all that stuff. It comes right over there. It's great. This plugin had Matt Mullenweg, creator, who's known for, you know, establishing WordPress as how we know today. He left a 1-star review on the plugin itself over on the WordPress.org thing, saying, you know, he would use a different service, which is, you know, kind of controversial in a way. And it turns out that Jetpack, which is Automatic's bread and butter, their plugin, they have a deal with a image site called Pexels, Pexels. So, you know, a lot of people think that having Matt denounce Unsplash was promoting Pexels. However you feel about it, you know, I would encourage you to go read these things. But you know, this is all stuff that's happening in this WordPress community that I'm so happy to be a part of, and I am voicing my opinion strong these days. Made it very clear where I stand, what's cool, what's not okay. There was a lot of stuff a couple weeks ago with an image that was on Twitter that I saw. That guy no longer is in that community. I'm very proud that I kicked somebody out of this community for bringing a lot of hatred into it. He took our Wapoo image and did some stuff with it that he shouldn't have done. It's all on Twitter. If you go look at WP Water Cooler, we did an episode of it, and you can actually see me talking about it and see more about it. But you know, a lot of controversy in WordPress right now, a lot of things, and you know, WordPress is smooth, man. John, maybe you can share your experience, but you know, usually with WordPress, you show up to a meetup, you show up to a WordCamp, it's easy going. It's you know, you're buying beers, you're kicking, you're relaxing. That there's not a lot of stirring the commotion, man. So I don't know where a lot of this is coming from.
I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, it's a
I
pretty big.
see your WP Tavern screen. I don't see the other screens. You know, I don't know if other people's the same.
Yeah, I don't want to share any of those.
Okay.
But you know, you can go check out my Twitter, or you know, you can search WP Water Cooler and go find the one that talks about ethics in the community. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna unshare my screen. So now is a really good time. If anybody else has anything to say, or questions, comments, concerns, you know, anything you have about WordPress,
I have a question.
go ahead. Caller from Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, first time caller.
Long time listener.
Kind of curious if I know that with the latest version 5.5, several folks have been running into good old fun issues with JavaScript kind of breaking some sites. I've updated. I currently manage about 30 or 35 sites, and
Nice.
I've done updates on about the first 10 of those, and I would call them my
Guinea pig.
non-mission critical websites, you know, like my own blog, stuff like that.
Sure.
I have not run into any issues, but I do know, and I've heard that a lot of folks are having other issues, and I was wondering if anybody in our crew has been having any issues. Yeah.
Yeah. So I use Gutenberg Hub to build all my pages, and so you know, before 5.5, I went over to Gutenberg Hub. I copied a template and I pasted it. Once I update to 5.5, on my homepage, I have that header, that image of me talking to the group. I can't edit that block in the back of WordPress on 5.5. I've deactivated plugins, and what turns out is that the schema for how the block editor writes it creates a paragraph, how it creates its inline styling that has changed. Basically, like ACF did when they changed all their stuff, Gutenberg has changed the way that it builds its blocks. So a lot of my stuff is broken because of that. So that's my personal stuff at Nexus for the last week. We've seen WooCommerce break over everything.
Sure.
And it appears now there has been a couple fixes in a different couple ways, but 5.5 and WooCommerce were not jiving very well. You either had to downgrade WordPress or downgrade WooCommerce, but you couldn't have both. And then there was a conflict with WooCommerce and WP Rocket where the same thing, where you had to downgrade Rocket or downgrade Woo, but you couldn't have both. So, I mean, those are the three biggest things that I've seen personally and on the hosting side.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be a fun Saturday.
Do you have do you do object cache like the WP Redis? Because that was breaking as well. We actually had to get with the WP Redis crew and have them write a patch because it was actually breaking. And so WP Redis is caching on the back end of WordPress. All those queries that those PHP files go and get data, it caches that and it makes the back end of WordPress, just as fast. WP Redis, and that's default on all Liquid Web hosting now, and Nexus. Anybody else? Manny, what have you seen?
I was just reading here the comments about what you say on Twitter. Sorry.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Anybody else? Questions? John, thank you.
I thought I'd ask, I think I asked in one of the other groups, I was thinking about looking at 2 different platforms, and I was hoping that someone with more experience, that some of you guys might know what I'm talking about, looking at either Buddy Boss or Peepso to kind of replicate Facebook.
Buddy Boss.
Yeah, Buddy Boss was Buddy Pro or Buddy
Sell memberships, courses, and online. What was the other one? Peepso?
Peepso.
Like PEP?
Yes.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to Google some of these. All right, we're cool. Your community, the next generation user profile and social networking plugin for WordPress. Cool.
So I will download the demo copies and play with them. I just thought that I've at least narrowed it down to 2. I just thought that I would put it out there since, we're here at the WordPress user group, if anybody knows anything about these. I do know that Michael Cremian has worked with Buddy Boss. So there's at least one person that's, has experience with it, but I was hoping that maybe some of you guys might.
Hey, Chris, can I ask an add-on question or qualifying question? What are you trying to do? And don't tell me that you want to recreate Facebook, because that's
it's like
bad
TikTok. Idea. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm
Buddy Press for them.
I wanted to create like an online community for the entertainment business.
Okay.
So it would be kind of like for indie filmmakers to use for their propaganda, for their movies, for performers, for crew. Kind of like what IMDb used to be when it first started, but then Amazon bought it, and now it's like the Borg, and there's no more forums or any discussions or anything like that. So I'm kind of wanting to do like a smaller version of Facebook, but specifically for people in the entertainment business.
I don't like to talk people out of ideas. It's not really it's just.
There's a business model right there. Like, how much would you pay to be told this is a bad idea? I'd pay $250.
It's not that it's a bad idea. It's just.
Hey, Jason. Sorry, go ahead.
It's a gigantic idea. It's the problem. This isn't something you're not going to go pick 2 plugins off of you're not going to go pick half a dozen plugins, paid or free, off of the shelf and plug them in and be like, oh great, I got everything I wanted, here we go. This is something that you're
Correct.
Be-
What I was trying to do is create a minimum viable product before then shopping it out to investors, showing that this is kind of the idea of what I'm looking to do.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I think you could get away with it, installing BuddyPress and saying here's the general concept without having to go too far down this road. I mean, BuddyPress by itself is pretty damn powerful.
Uh-huh.
Looking at this, Buddy Boss looks better than the other one that I don't want to keep repeating, but so far looking at some of the features, I would go with Buddy Boss, but I don't even know if this is the right direction.
Well, it was the creators of Buddy Boss was from the Buddy Press.
That's why I would say go with that one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that they kind of took it and went with it in a very specific direction, which is kind of the direction that I want to go.
Yeah.
So that's why why that was one of the two that I had narrowed it down to. To get before approaching, VC or investors or whatever, to at least show that I have a minimum viable product.
Yeah, I vote Buddy Boss. That's what I vote.
Okay. And then I don't know if you happen to know Daryl Wilson. He's a very popular speaker on YouTube. I just found out he just recently moved here to Las Vegas.
Cool. I love it.
And he had reviewed Peepso.
Cool.
And but he just moved here and bought a house and everything, so I haven't even been able to talk to him. I tremendously respect him.
You like standing outside his gate? Hey, sir, I have a question. Sir.
I'm your neighbor.
Yeah. Here's a couple beers. Let's sit down and talk.
Hey, the beer idea works. That's how I got Hawkins to let me start drinking or start talking in here. Yeah. Hey, while we have a minute, you guys just watched him. We just watched the video. Now we have the man, the myth, the legend here, Jason Ball. How are you, sir?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for letting me know about this.
Literally. So Jason and I hooked up in a WP water cooler show, and he was showing us GraphQL, and that was the first instance that I learned. Jason, since, sir, I have been watching YouTube videos like crazy. You probably have 10 cents from me on any AdSense that has happened. But we literally just watched your presentation. You literally just did a whole presentation on GraphQL, ways it's possible. With all of our time remaining, can you tell us how you see the future of WordPress as headless, or where you think Graph is, or why, could you give an argument on why you would tell somebody to go the static file kind of way, or share some insights, whatever you got for us. And also, thank you for having your background the same, because now I watch your videos on YouTube and it matches what you're here. So I know you're a real person.
Oh, that's a virtual background. No, I'm just kidding.
Right?
Yeah. What video did you watch? So I have context on what you already have seen.
Bringing GraphQL to 27% of the internet.
Okay, so
the
that
one
was
2017.
Was that okay? WordCamp US. Okay.
No, was that the
no.
GraphQL Summit?
Oh, GraphQL Summit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, and I struggled with a live demo.
Yes.
I was like, oh.
Look at that.
That's
He
okay.
knows. I love it.
Nobody's perfect, man.
Yeah. So funny thing is, I was DDoSing my own server on accident, which is why it froze up. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah. So, since then, I now work at Gatsby, which is a static site generator based in React. So I've been working on the project like what, 3.5 years or something now. So you heard the origin story a little bit. I worked at a newspaper, the original story was syndicating content, which is, I think, a unique use case for GraphQL. Like a lot of folks use it for JavaScript front ends or like native iOS front ends. We ended up using it for that as well, but our primary use case was the syndication. But I saw like the opportunity for the community to benefit from a tool like this. So I kept working on it as a community project and then got picked up by Gatsby to work on it full time. I personally, if you've done any React development, I personally think it's like hard to go back to not using React. If you haven't experienced it, and I would encourage checking it out. Vue is conceptually similar, but I think clicks for different people in a different way, but I think the benefits are the same. Like component-based development, I think there's huge benefits to it. So, and we're seeing that with Gutenberg. React is in WordPress core now, for better or worse, like whatever your political Facebook affiliation views might be, but reactive technology I think is amazing, and component-based development. And what Gatsby does, it allows you to use React on the front end, but get the same benefits you would get of a WordPress rendered front end, like the SEO benefits, and things like that. Some other JavaScript frameworks would be client side only, or if you were to use React, like your Gutenberg components directly in a WordPress theme, you'd have to render them client side, and you'd miss out on SEO benefits, performance, and things like that. So Gatsby would allow you to use React on the front end and React on the back end with Gutenberg. There's still a lot of friction in this space right now. Like WordPress is 17 years old and was not designed at all to be a decoupled system.
Or modular in any kind of way.
Yeah, so there's a lot of friction in it. I think like the work I'm doing, and my colleague Tyler, I'm working on the WP GraphQL side, the WordPress side, and he's working on the Gatsby side of getting the data out of WordPress and allowing you to put it into Gatsby templates. So the work we're doing, we're trying to reduce the friction quite a bit. So that
you're no longer in WordPress per se. You now work in the Gatsby space, right?
I consider it fully WordPress still. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, WordPress is a CMS, and I think in my experience, it's the best CMS. I've been using WordPress for 12 years professionally, like as a developer professionally, full-time WordPress for 12 years now. I think it's the best option there is in the world. In my opinion, like using an alternative front end doesn't mean you're not using WordPress. Like if you use a CDN instead of the WordPress file system, you're still using WordPress. If you use, like what are some other examples? Like if you use Elasticsearch instead of the native WordPress search, you're still using WordPress. You're replacing parts of it to make it better. And Gatsby and other things, not just Gatsby, there's GridSum, which is a Vue alternative. There's Next.js. I'm biased toward Gatsby, obviously, because they pay me. But like using an alternative front end doesn't mean you're not using WordPress. You're using WordPress to its best potential as a content management system. And you're using technology that's been developed more recently that's better, in my opinion, at being a front end. So yeah, we're trying to solve those problems that are difficult with decoupled architectures, like live previews. You get that free with WordPress today, right? Like as you're editing content, you can click preview. So we're solving that for decoupled architectures with Gatsby. Incremental builds, as we call it. When you publish a page in WordPress, it's live, within seconds, pending maybe some cache invalidations that need to happen. And so with Gatsby, we're solving those problems too, where you can have a decoupled front end, but your data can be live
instantly,
within seconds. Yeah.
Around the world through the GraphQL API.
Yeah, and you can serve it on the edge, like in Cloudflare or like an S3 bucket or whatever. So you get the speed benefits of a static file, but the dynamic benefits of a CMS.
You've done this.
Yeah, for sure. We have a site called willit.build. It's a site that shows like our build times for building Gatsby for Drupal or WordPress or whatever.
Wow.
Because you can source Gatsby sites from any source. And like, so yeah, we have tests in place. There's people running this stack in production right now. There's an agency, bear.ca, they're a Canadian agency that is exclusively building on this stack. Like they've
Wow.
converted from a WordPress shop to a Gatsby plus WordPress shop. Yeah, so it's going pretty well.
Is
I see
support
the-
kind of the
yeah.
is support kind of the same thing in that sense? But like I'm asking you from my end, you know, like I deal with hosting all day, so I'm going in back end stuff like that. Is the support any different? Like, you know, you're not saying, hey, go into this plugin, go in the setting. You're now saying you gotta run this version of Node, or you gotta go clean out this this file, this JSON file, or your packagist or something like that. Like, is it different to support than a traditional WordPress, you know,
Yeah.
product?
Yeah, it is for sure. There's still a lot of friction right now. Like I would say today, if you wanted to use a stack, you would need to be a pretty advanced developer at the moment. But our goal is to make it like very frictionless, where you can do what you do in WordPress today, click a few buttons, and things will work. So like that, like a low code option in the future is not too far out, to be honest, where you can
Wow.
you'll be able to install Gatsby themes with the click of a button, just like you install WordPress themes. Right now, like we do have support for some WordPress plugins already. Like you can install Yoast and WP GraphQL for Yoast, and Gatsby. We have a Gatsby plugin that you install on your front end, and you'll automatically get all the Yoast meta tags and all that, you know, meta
Oh, wow.
descriptions or whatever. So like, because it's exposed to the graph, and Gatsby knows what to fetch from the graph. So over time, we'll see like plugins for things like WooCommerce or whatnot, like where you can just install a Gatsby plugin that knows, oh, you have WooCommerce, and can build like cart templates and, you know, that kind of functionality for you. And then you can customize it using React. Instead of using PHP template parts, you would use React components. So conceptually, there's going to be similarities. You would need to know React.
Yeah.
So like there will always, if you want to really dive in and extend stuff, you'll have to know JavaScript for sure.
Do you think plugins like let's use this in a real world scenario, right? So like I'm using WooCommerce, and I use Ship It by, you know, another WordPress company. They're gonna have to build that PHP version to go into WordPress to hook into my page attributes, my product attributes, whatever. But then they're also gonna have to build, if I'm hearing you right, a Gatsby thing that says, hey, when this comes over, this means this means this, and this is what we want it to do. So now they're going to have to ship two essentially products or release two things at the same time, right? You can't have the plugin without the updated code, vice versa, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's essentially, that would essentially be it. And the benefits of that though is like having your data as an API. If you think about it as data and then presentation separately, it would allow you to use your data in other ways. Like we at the newspaper used it for print content, for example, and we used it for our iOS and native apps. So if you're thinking about it data first, and then how you render it separately, you can include a rendering layer in PHP that works in normal WordPress, but then it also allows you to ship with less effort layers to render it in things like Gatsby or Next or Gridsome or iOS or whatever's next, like virtual reality, like whatever it might be. I have no idea. So like Yoast did a major release fairly recently where they kind of like separated their data from everything else to make it easier to use their data in the REST API and potentially now GraphQL. So I think and WooCommerce has been doing a lot of stuff in this space too, of like modeling their data differently to be able to be used in different contexts. Like there's the new WooCommerce dashboard, maybe a year old or something now, but it's all a React based dashboard. So they're treating their data and their presentation as two separate layers now. And in my opinion, even if you're doing everything in PHP, that's a good practice. to like not mix your logic with your presentation. You can get in the weeds if you do that too much. And so I think this kind of forces that mentality of like, here's my data, here's how I render the data.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits of Gatsby specifically is the outcome of a Gatsby site is all static files. So when a user visits a Gatsby site, it's just a HTML file. It's not, there's no live
It's already
connection.
pre-built.
Yep, there's no live connection. So what that means is you can use the same WordPress CMS, and let's say you're retheming for a client, you can have 4 different Gatsby sites built from that same CMS. So you could be like, here's option A, option B, and option C using the actual live data as they decide.
Because they all source from the same install.
Yeah, exactly. So so you could like build like different versions using their live existing content.
Here's Gatsby, here's React, you pick.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, like retheming and stuff. So because since there's no live connection, you can like experiment with that stuff without like fear of breaking it.
Yeah.
And since there's a build step too, this is one thing you don't get in WordPress, right? If you miss a comma in WordPress, like white screen to death, and you're like, oops, you know,
you figure out where it came from.
Yeah. And with WordPress or with Gatsby, it has a build process. So it has to talk to WordPress, say, hey, give me all your data. And then I'm going to build these templates and files. If there's a mistake anywhere in there, it fails the build and tells you why it's broken. So your live site is still live. Gatsby says, I'm not going to deploy this because I know you made a mistake. So you walk away with the missing, colon or whatever for the weekend. Your site didn't deploy, and so you don't have white screen of death for your users for the weekend. And that gives you time to come back and address it, fix it, and then rebuild your site and deploy it. So like, the build step is a definite feature, especially on larger projects, multi-person projects where it's hard to track who's doing what and where one thing might affect something over here. So I think we'll see it like at some larger agencies and whatnot. I think for the average freelancer currently, it may be too technical to invest in unless you're seasoned in React or GraphQL already. Yeah, was that Manny?
Yeah, I have a question for you. So the Denver Post is still using the same infrastructure that you had before, or did they upgrade to Gatsby?
Yeah, I haven't worked there in a little over a year now. Mm-hmm. They are using WP GraphQL. I actually talked with one of their engineers today, mm-hmm. But I don't know all the details of it and how it's evolved. They are still using it in production. I can actually I think I can still go to the endpoint, denverpost.com/GraphQL. And let's see. Yeah, I can query. I can query 100 posts right now. NHL playoff scoring leader Nathan McKinnon closes in on Joe Sakic.
Oh, come on. Don't spoil them. Just kidding.
Yeah. So yeah. So I could build my own reader app right now for the Denver Post and bypass their subscriptions.
It's recording it.
Sure. Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, one thing we built there too. So we built it for the syndication, but then we had 54 sites. By the time I left, we had 54 sites running on the stack. So, and they're separate WordPress installs. So I was an admin on 54 sites. When I left the organization, that's like somebody's day, like, oh, I got to log into site A, take them out, site B, take them out, site C. So one project we had worked on while I was still there, we had a React-based dashboard that connected to all of our sites and could do administrative tasks like remove JSON, and it would, on your behalf as the user, go do this action via GraphQL mutation on all 54 sites. So
just by passing to an API.
Yeah, we had a way to search for like users, for example, and different things, but that was one common task when somebody left the organization. I was like, man, this is kind of painful. This is like at least an hour of somebody's day at minimum to like go log into so many sites. We could have obviously used something maybe like a managed WP or something that kind of tries to do those things for you. We did not. So yeah, we built our own, because if you introduce something like that, then we're on the hook for any security and stuff. So it was easier for us to use this API that we built from the ground up to build an interface to do specific tasks like that for us.
Cool. Thank you.
Right. I mean, you know, for the 11 of us that are still around, I hope, you know, you see the future of WordPress, and, you know, it's very interesting working for a host now to where you can have this thing locally, push it to a CDN and skip that completely. Very, very interesting to see, you know, again, WordPress evolve, you know, from once a blog to now a CMS to now, you know, distributing multiple ways of content and even syndicating your own podcast to multiple data platforms just by giving an API. It's insane. And Jason, I can't believe you've done stuff like that. You've built things that I do all day. Like, you know, it's taken me hours to debug, and you probably look at that and go, "Oh, here, got it." You know, so you know, first of all, thank you for your time, for your services, and you know, thank you for teaching me about GraphQL. You didn't even know it. I was watching every night, man, but that's what I do. Like literally after this, I'm gonna go downstairs and cozy up, watch some WordPress.tv, and get ready for WordCamp Minneapolis on Friday.
Awesome.
Ready, guys. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for inviting.
Bye, guys.
Yeah,
bye, John.
We do have a WP GraphQL Slack. You can join. There's a link on the README. So if you're looking to explore on the WP GraphQL README on GitHub, you can follow the link there. Join. We have, I don't know, I think like 1,300 people in there right now.
Nice.
So it's a pretty active community.
I was following along with a fair bit of the Gatsby stuff for a while because while I was working at Web Dev Studios, or even afterwards, I'm friendly with Greg Rickaby, so he's been doing a heck of a lot with it over there, and so it was kind of fun because I know that it's even as a developer it's unless I'm really gonna dive in and just make it my thing, it was just not worth my time. So it was fun to be able to watch him dive in head first and just kind of see where his pain points were, see where the big wins were. So it's been pretty cool to watch. So that's cool. I didn't know you were at over there now. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if you were there or not. I did a lunch and learn with the Web Dev Studios 6 months ago or so. I don't know when you were there.
I've been gone longer than
Definitely not 6 months ago. That's for damn sure.
Okay.
Another member of our group, Laura, she's still there, but I don't think she was on that call either. So I think you missed our whole group here.
Well, if you, Jason, I'll tell you, I'm the lead organizer for this group, and if there's ever anything you think would be kind of cool to show from WordPress, we maybe a little bit, maybe not quite as technical, a little, you know, like a step down, kind of like hey, here's how you get your feet wet on this. That'd be cool. We'd love to have
Gatsby plus WordPress would be awesome.
Even,
for sure.
Even just installing GraphQL and graphical, just, you know, a tutorial on that user interface and even that, man.
Yeah, we're gonna make you sad that you jumped onto the Zooms. What's up? That's what I'm saying.
No, it's all good. Like, I love talking about this stuff, as you
man,
can already hear. So
awesome. All right, guys, I'm bugging out for the night. So thank you guys all for coming, and thanks for us for running it. And Manny, I appreciate you. All right, have a good night, y'all.
Bye.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.
Thanks. Nice. Yeah, man. How cool. Jason, you ever figure that out, man? Jason James, you ever figure out that Zoom, man? I saw you put that chat in there. I'm gonna hit stop.